Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and basically in this video what I want to do is talk about Express and my tool Merced Spinup. If you haven't seen any of my videos before where I've mentioned Merced Spinup, it's this tool I've created to spin up any of the many templates that I've made. And what I want to do today is to spin up some really fancy Express templates I've made. One that has sort of like a Rails-like experience, and another one where I implemented Swagger. We'll talk about what Swagger is when we get there. But let me just show you Merced Spinup. Okay, so you can see what it does. Okay, so essentially, basically, here's the documentation for it. But essentially, these are all the templates that are available for you to create apps. I've even recently added some non-node templates, so you could actually generate a Python Flask or a Python Fast API project with a single command by using the Merced Spinup tool. You can generate markdown blogs and pretty much any of your favorite frameworks, all sorts of really cool stuff. So definitely worth playing around with, especially if you want to try out like new frameworks. Like, this is good stuff. Okay. Now, with that, let's try this out. So what I want to do is use, let me go find it, it's a backend, so it's going to be like the newest ones, the Swagger Express template and the Merced Express template here. Okay, so let's show you how this would work. So I'd open up in Terminal, and this assumes that you have Node. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I have the latest version of Node set up, so nvm use system, so that was using the newest version. Okay, good. And now what I want to do is do a npx, so that way it runs at one time. Npx Merced Spinup, and just to make sure that I'm using the latest version, I'll do at latest. That little flag always make sure that you're using the latest version of the library. So npx Merced Spinup at latest, and I want to do the Merced Express template. And we're going to call this video show off Merced Express. Okay. And that'll generate that project. Yes, please update it. And it's doing the thing. And see there, it's generated the project. And look, it's all there. I might as well just generate the other one while I'm at it. Okay, and do the same thing. Except this is going to be Swagger Express. That's the name of that template. And do video show off Swagger Express SE. Let that do the thing. And there it is. Okay, cool. See, that's not so bad, right? Okay, now I have this Express project that's all sprawled out with all these fancy things. Now, in this particular template, this is the Merced Express template. Well, first let me just cd into that folder. Cd video show off Merced Express. Okay, and I do need to run an npm install to make sure to run to install the dependencies, because this is a node project, so it's not going to come with all the dependencies pre-installed. Cool. Okay, we're up and running. So basically what's cool about this template is that I did create like a CLI. So basically you can run commands to generate a lot of your files. Okay, so basically here's like the command you would run: npm run gen, then you would type in the generator name and the name of the thing you want to generate. So this is a lot like Ruby on Rails. Like, that's what I was trying to go for. Like, can I replicate sort of the Ruby on Rails experience in Node with Express? Okay, and it was pretty successful. Now this is particularly designed to be used with Mongo, mainly because it just seemed like the easier way to go, and you never really see a good like frameworky type setup that's really sort of conducive to working with Mongo. You always kind of have to work around the framework to use Mongo. So like if you use Rails with Mongo, you kind of have to, you lose out on a lot of the benefits of Rails. So I wanted to kind of do that. So this is kind of like a very nice expression, just to kind of show you how this works. So let's see here. You have all these files, and they get in the README. I always kind of document everything, like where everything is, so that way it's like easy for you to find what you're looking for. But particularly like if I did npm run, what are the different generators here? Controller, model, auth. So again, with one command, you can generate authentication for your app. It'll actually generate like all the routes, the middleware, everything for auth, assuming you're using Mongo. Okay, this is all again built around Mongo. Although it wouldn't be, I guess, too bad to adjust it for a SQL database. But let's try it out. Okay, and resource does both. So resource will create a new model and a controller. Okay, so let's try that out. So if I did npm run gen, and I want to create a resource, and we'll call it cat. Okay, and since we're creating like an API of cats, I run this, and see it's created new files and models and controllers, router, register, and the home controller. So let's take a look. I go to the controllers, see there's my cat controller, and see my cat controller already has all the basic functions for full CRUD with Mongo. Okay, so that was pretty quick. See, all nice and set up. And see, it's already been registered in the home controller. Okay, which basically tracks all the other controllers. Home router.use, cat, nice. Okay, and then if I go to models, like there's my cat model, setting up my schema. So all I'd have to do is go in here and just generate my schema. Okay, so figure out what the schema for a cat is. So we'll just say every cat has a name, that's a string, and an age, that's a number. Okay, there we go. And the last, that's pretty much it. Okay, that's it. Like we have full CRUD and API, and I have a Mongo server on my computer, so this should just work right out of the box. Okay, let me just double check the db config file, make sure that it does by default grab my database URL. Okay, yeah, it does default value there, which is just going to be my local database. Okay, so technically this should be off to the races. Let me just see what command is it to start the server. So I'll go to my package.json, read the scripts. So it would just be, and again, see, like there's like sort of like the generate command. There's also a seed command to seed your database. So there's a seed file. So you can just put in all your seed code in here, and it imports all your import all your models, and you can just like seed your code or seed your stuff. There's even a drop file, so if you need to drop your database, you can drop your database with a command, and those commands are all there. So very much like in the same way you have like Ruby on Rails, and you have like commands like, you know, Rails DB seed, Rails DB drop, or Rails DB reset. You have all those commands here, so it gives you again that experience where you can really like quickly generate. The only catch is that I am using ES6 modules, and the reason I chose to do that, one is I like ES6 modules. I like writing import and export. So you'll notice here, not like your typical Express project, I'm using ES6 module syntax. But to use that, you do need a newer version of Node. Okay, so to use ES6 module syntax, you do need a newer version. That's why I'm running 16.5 here. So if you run into issues using this and the commands, and it runs into errors, make sure that you're running like, I think you need to have like 14.5 or higher for this to work. It's going to be the same thing with the Swagger template. I did use ES6 modules there, but the particular reason I used it here was there's this one library in there, files, that you have to be using ES modules for it to work. So that was the main reason for that. But I mean, I could just now just do npm start and see the server's right up and running. I can see that the database is connected and see like nice little logs. It's all set up. You just build your app, and then you can build your app like that. You can spin up your models really quick. You know, has all the benefits and flexibility of Express, but all the nice commands of working with Rails and the benefits of working with Mongo all in one really cool template. So I'm pretty stoked about that one. Okay. And then, you know, just to kind of show you like how it works, is that basically these scripts, they're all in this generate.js file, so you can alter them if you want to like edit them. You can read through them and see how I did this. Okay, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just checking, hey, like what kind of generator you did. So like if you chose like controller as your generator, and then basically again, basically don't edit the files directly because everything works based on sort of where things are relative to each other. But you see here, what I do is I just inject text, interpolate some of the things that you gave me through the command, generate the file. I did this a while ago, so I actually don't even remember like exactly how I pulled this off. But it's there. It's pretty cool. And just to kind of show you like a little bit of the tricks I used when I was doing this, is that if I go to like the controller file, particularly the home controller, because that's like the one file that like every other file is created, this is like the one file that's like edited each time. So notice I put this like little comment XXXX there. That's kind of how I tell where to inject the code. I look for that line, and then I inject the line right above that. Okay, so that comment's there for a purpose. So don't delete the XXX. And I think I put that note in the README, because I do rely on that to determine where to inject the next sort of controller when you auto-generate controllers. Same thing here. So what I do is like, I think I split the file based on these markers, and I kind of inject things before them. So notice like, see, like even the import is dynamically inserted. So cool, so cool. Okay, so let's show off the other template. cd ... And I mean, I guess I could technically try to incorporate like both things in one. I'd probably have to do that in like a third template, just because like some of the patterns would conflict with the way I have them set up currently. But what this template does is that it has Swagger built in. Okay, if you're not familiar with Swagger, what Swagger is, it's a like it's a thing that reads your API and like documents it. So this way you don't have to write like separate documentation. You just write like a YAML file or a JSON file technically, and the JSON file gets turned into sort of a site of documentation. So for example, let's see here. Now that I'm in the folder, I'll do an npm install to install all the things. Okay, and you see it's like this is swagger.json. So this becomes your documentation. So in this case, see like my root route, which is this route, if you make a GET request to that route, it's going to go to the home controller and run the main function, and that's what it does. Okay. And then here, what I can do is I can like specify like parameters, because basically this all becomes a documentation. And I'm using a library called Swagger Express Router. So what this does is that instead of me having to write my routes in Express, so if I go to like my server.js, like basically this one line here, what it does is that it's going to read that file and just generate all my routes based on that file. So all I have to do is worry about in my controllers is just creating the controllers and writing the actual route controller functions. I don't actually have to write the route, so I don't have to be like this URL goes to this. Okay, and it works. It works. Like for example, see like basically the way it works is that here is the object of the different controller. So every time you create a different controller file, you kind of load it into here and put it in this object, and then it has a name. So if I go back to that swagger.json file, so see there I refer to the name, which is referring to its name in this object, which is imported from this file. And then the next part, swagger.json, this part, operation ID, refers to which function in that object. So I go back to home. So it's really, I've exported this object here. So it's referring to this main, which is just this function here, and it runs that function when that request comes in. So essentially, you would write all your routes in this swagger.json file. But the benefit is, once the server is running, I don't like that undefined, but we'll come back to that. If I go over here, suppose it should be running on localhost 4000. See, if I go to the main route, see I get the response, hello world, and then I can see the documentation by going to /docs and see like there's my API. So as I continue to write more routes, it'll all show up here. And then I can document parameters, you know, like if you use like URL queries. But yeah, that's how you do it. And you can see this is the main route. That's from like where it says like the description in the file. So you can have a lot of fun with this. This is another really kind of cool template. And then here I have all my configuration set up. So you can actually like inject, I've created this context function. So what this does just injects an object in the request object, and you can like deliver anything you want to your entire app through this object. You have your cores configurations, your end variables. I did this kind of like in a very Python Flask configs kind of way. And yeah, so basically, you have kind of everything kind of set up for you, and you get the cool thing. So that way, you don't have to sit there and open up Postman or Insomnia separately. You can just go to the Swagger page and actually test out the API endpoint. So like, I can actually go to this here, and I can be like, try it out, and then I can execute the call and see like I get the result back, so I can see what the response is going to be. Like, that's pretty cool. Okay, so if you haven't used Swagger before, it's not a JavaScript thing. You can use it in pretty much any language. If you use Fast API, Fast API has Swagger built in. I think like the default template for like .NET 5 for building web APIs has Swagger built in. So Swagger's a thing. Okay, but this template will allow you to write your routes. Basically, as you write your Swagger file, that becomes your routes. So you only have to really write it out once using these libraries. Okay, and again, if you're looking at the code, if I go back to the server.json, this is what determines where the documentation shows up. This is what says, hey, take the documentation and turn those into the routes. Okay, and then that's that. That's the server. That's pretty cool. Well, my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Do subscribe to the channel, Alex, and go to visit those websites, Alex Merced Coder and devnursery.com. And subscribe or join the Slack and Discord channel. Follow me on Twitter because I got a lot of content. I also write a lot of blog posts, do a lot of podcasting, Web Dev 101 podcast. So there's plenty of stuff to learn. Well, I'll see you all later. Hopefully you guys try these templates. If you do try these templates out, do leave a comment. I always like to know that people actually use this stuff that I build. So that way I know that I'm just not just sitting here twiddling my thumbs and typing away for no reason at all. But you have a great day. I'll see y'all later.